Okay, can you see?
What?
This is Cities of Light-1, and I'm gonna call this last one we had prep storage. Maybe call this people storage or something like that. I'll work it out. You'll recognize the title. This is what the Lord gave me about 10 years ago when I came back. The last time that I came back from the East Coast, I actually had a heart attack, and my car blew up, and ended up having taken the train back 10 years ago about this time of the year to Vancouver. And when I went over to Vancouver Island, all the hostels were full, things like that. No place at Salvation Army. I had a real good time. It really sucked. I ended up having to stay in the back in the cab of this truck for about a week, and I was feeling sorry for myself and things like that. I was I was okay, and a lot of people are seeing slept out in the streets, so at least I had a dry place to stay. That's the way Vancouver Island is. People, you fall through the cracks, you end up paying the price. Anyway, I got felt sorry for myself, and the Lord gave me this design. And this is the same shape as this here, but instead of being this would be 8 feet across, so about this much here would be 8 feet across, right? 8 foot. One sheet of plywood. So this is about probably 14 feet. So this is a 4 by 8. You got 4 by 8, 4 by 8, 4 by 8, all the way around. So that's your building. So as you go from point to point, I'm going to go with the blue. So this would be 4 feet, 4 feet. Between point to point, you have 8 feet. And from side to side, it's actually 0.86, but 86%. So this works out to about 7 feet from side to side, or your hypotenuse. Well, something like this, you could probably, you're going to use plywood on the outside. You're going to use at least 2x4 framework or 2x6 framework. Or if you're going to use this as an underground storage, you want to go 2x6 framework on 12-inch centers. But if it's just a surface storage, then you could go 2x4 on 16-inch centers, and so you would have like a rib cage all the way around, right? And then you lay out your rib cage, and then you would have your purlins that would go on the outside at 16-inch centers. So this is 4 feet. There'd be 16, 16, 16 to make your 48. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 purlins, or 2x4s that go this way to join the rib cage together, and you could router those out, maybe a 3/8 router, and so you can just snap everything together and screw it together, and then your plywood will go over top. And the reason for doing that is that when you actually use your foam injection, when you get the saw made, you go inside, you can foam in behind your rib cage. Okay, it just gives you just a little more professional. And so if you're going to use this for sleeping, you'd make up all your ribs. You'd have all your purlins ready to go. You want to router your purlins here at 60 degrees. You run them with on a table saw. Then you use your PL 400 for all your joints, and so you can pre-make everything, so it just all snaps together. You can have a jig set up. You could just set this in a jig and slap everything on. You want to make your jig so maybe you could actually spin your work, so you're not climbing up. You could actually work side to side and you can spin your work as you're doing it. So with a little bit of ingenuity, this is not a hard thing to do. So if you're going to use this for sleeping or dry storage, this could be a sleeper or a larger dry storage unit, and you'd use the same configuration. So you got this would end up being your door hatch again, and your floor would come from point to point, 7 feet across. That would be divided into thirds, and so this ends up being 1/3 ends up being a bench. You'd have storage here, approximately maybe 21 inches of storage. Most of your if you can use this for storing quartz, what do you call that? Canned goods. I think you're like a case of a dozen 1 quart jars are about 12 by 16, so you got plenty of room to get it. So you could stack maybe 50 cases per bench. Or you could make this. You could actually make some shelving in here. You can pre-make that, set it in place. You got to make sure that you can get your shelving through the door, set it in place, and you can use it for blankets, for tarps, dry goods storage. You could have all your wiring and plumbing and everything like that. Venting, you could actually make it. This would be your auxiliary here. You could have it so any water that would come in would go out. Lots of stuff that you can do. You could run this off here. You could use this for light, like a T-bar ceiling or whatever. You could have your light coming in here. You could have if this is going to be outdoor storage. You could have those things that let the light in. You know what I mean. You can have them on there. But see if you're going to use it for a place to sleep. You could use it for storage. It could be turned into a place to sleep after once you use the stuff up in the storage. But see if this is the back wall here. So you're looking at the back wall from here to here. It's around 7 feet finished, 4 feet up. So this would be equal to about a 4 foot by 6.5 foot piece of plywood approximately. And so what you could do, you could actually, if your bed's going to be here, maybe 8 inches up, so you could have part of the bed frame on the back, and this part would fold down. So you could, you can easily have make this into a 4 foot bed that would pulls down from the wall. You could have a window behind or whatever. But when you're not using it, it's up in the air. So probably the best in something like that, you want to split it so the back part is like a bench seat when it's folded up. So when it's folded down, you would have a full bed. That's going to be comfortable. So you can fold it up so it becomes like a couch. In the daytime, it folds down to become a bed at night. And that still gives you room for some shelving and things like that. And it's walkable. You're out of the the weather, and with what the Lord showed Sarah Manette, there's going to be a lot of people they're not going to have something like this. They're going to be living in tents, tarps held up by a stick and things like that. And so these could be made up in advance, and you could turn these into a sauna. You could turn them into a dry storage container. You can make them into living quarters. There's no end. I am going to make up a list of things that this could be used for, where you could modify it. You could use it for a large grain storage, or you could have open grain on the inside, or you could have your smaller containers stored on the inside. But if you want that route, then you want to put a aluminum skin or some kind of steel skin on the outside. Now I want to bring your attention to the bottom part. As the roof is pointed up, the floor is pointed down. You want to make some kind of a trestle design or a boat design where this could be actually a all welded freshly welded up. You could have your wheels in there. So this bottom part is a trailer, and this sits on your trailer, and then you put your straps around it, and it's good to go. So when you come to the site, you can pull out your outriggers. You can have your hydraulic jacks that will jack this off the trailer, and then you can lower it down. You have to have your jacks built in, and so this could be a storage unit all ready to go. You could use the inside. This would be the smallest design, like 4 feet per side. That would be the smallest design. So this would be good for for storage, for dry provisions like blankets, tarps, for food storage like canned goods, preserved goods. All this you can do, and you can make it so nothing's going to fall over. And you can make them a little bit longer, maybe 12 foot longer, like 12 foot overall, to where this part here, this part here could be your standard storage, and this 4 feet in the back, you could have a bulkhead in here that will strengthen the design, but also will give you storage for flour and things like that. So you could have dry goods storage, you could have beans, flour, grain storage in the back, and this will be all skinned with metal, so nothing's going to get in here that shouldn't be in here. And so that's a business for someone to get into. You can start making these, and of course you're going to want these made in advance and on site. Wherever the places of refuge are going to be, you want these made and on site. You can even bury them on site on the places of refuge, so that Big Brother and all that doesn't know that you have them. You know, God could hide them. And so if you make them out of metal, they could easily bury these in a side hill, so that you have provisions on the land ready to go when the time comes. You can open this up. You'd have your tent supplies in here, your stuff for camping, all that good stuff. Okay. So what I like to do is maybe do a drawing, work out the inner dimensions and just give you like a visual of what you could actually store in something like this. But it's there. You got a container that compared to the preparation vessels, you could expand this to where this is 4 foot, and you could use it for food storage, blankets, all that good stuff. And you can take the next upscale to where you can go take a 2x6 by 10. You can split it to where your size would be 5 feet. A 5 foot is it's nice, but you would have to use tongue and groove plywood, right? So you're not going to have an open seam. So that means you're going to be wasting a little bit of plywood. And you could go to 6 foot where you could take a sheet and a half. So your seam would be here. Your cut seam would be here. But you're going to skin it in metal anyway. Or it'd be a good idea to skim it in metal to keep it the rats from coming in, and to make the hull of the vessel integral. Or you could use fiberglass. There's different ways. And let's say if you did make this out of a 2x6, 1 foot on center, and you had the back foamed, you'd foam the back so that the foam would go, fill in between the purlines and fill in behind the 2x6 webbing, and then you could use you could have all your wiring and everything in place, and then you blast your foam on, and then you could use your rock wool insulation to build it out. So you could have an R40 wall. But it's going to be sealed, and that's the big thing, is sealed. This could be out in -40 weather, and you could keep warm just with a candle on the inside. It wouldn't take much to keep warm. You want to make sure that you got your fresh air going in, and you can have your fresh air going in and to where the whole thing could be vented. There's lots of different things that you can do. Okay, and on your storage, on your actually where this sits, you could actually use the the framework for your water storage, septic storage. You might have gasoline. You might have a generator. There's so many things you can do with this. So this would be something that many of you out there could take this and you could run with it, play with it, come together, talk about it, and what you could do with it, and start making them. But you have a basic design that has a very wide diversity with what you could do with it, and this is going to be invaluable in the times coming up, or these, in the vision that the Lord showed me of 1988, February 1988. He showed me a convoy that was 50 miles long, leaving the west coast of the United States, going up to the interior of British Columbia. A 50-mile convoy, and he took me in. He zoomed me in to this convoy, and I saw a 5-mile stretch of transports that were set up with, and I knew they were all tarped over, so I didn't see what was underneath the tarps. But I knew in the spirit that they were fully prepared for long-term survival. So when they got up to the end of their destination, they had everything that they needed. They didn't have to be reliant on anyone. They had everything that they needed to set up camp for the long term. And I believe that these vessels here are part of that convoy that I saw that I didn't see, and yet I did see. Okay, I knew by way of the Spirit, by word of knowledge, that this convoy going up was fully prepared. So we're going to have to do something while we still have something to do. So when I come back, I might show some interior work and work out the spaces and dimensions on various sizes. Maybe I'll give you a visual of a small, or being the 4-foot, and maybe a medium being the 5-foot, and the large being the 6-foot. This is 6 feet across. We'd have 12 feet from point to point. That's still probably small enough where you could transport it on a trailer. This will have its own wheels, so you would, from point to the bottom of the pavement, you would have 13 feet. Allow a foot for your carriage here. So this would still do it. So at 12 feet point to point, your side would be around maybe 10 and a half feet. So, so if you got something that big, you could actually, where you have your benches, your bench would be about 3 feet. So you could, you walk in here, so you could build this up. So you would have like a table. So you could have a fabrication, steel fabrication on this side, and welding on this side. You could use it for that, or you could have a machine shop assembly, lathing. You could have small, portable, micro shops. All right. So I'm just giving you guys the ideas. Like I said, the Lord has made me the guy with the ideas. The Holy Spirit shows me these things, and I had lots of time to think about these things over the years. And now is the time to share it with you and to get it out. This is Joshua Taylor, coming to you from the west coast of Canada. Looking forward to going back home to the west coast.